Good evening, everybody. We're glad that you're here. My name is Josh Blevins. I'm the pastor here at Grace, and we'll be moderating tonight's forum. I want to thank all the candidates for coming out and being part of communicating clearly to the community where they stand on the issues facing our school district and the future of our city. And tonight we gather together because we want to inform voters, both that are here live tonight, you, and those who will be watching this video in the days to come leading up to the election, on where the candidates stand on some of the most important issues. And also as a pastor and as a community of faith, we really wanted to hold a forum because there are key issues that really are important, we believe, to God and to our community, which are moral clarity, truthfulness, honesty, integrity, character, and we thank the candidates again for being here tonight. Before we start, I'm going to invite up Laurel and Delaney to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. And so if you girls would come on up, and if you would all stand with us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Candidates, thank you for being here. A few quick ground rules for the evening. Each candidate will have approximately 1 minute for opening remarks, introducing yourself to the audience tonight. Then we'll move through 6 categories, which I've formed some questions. You'll each have equal time to answer. We ask you to keep your answers around 60 seconds. It's nice that we don't have to do transitions tonight between groups, and so if you go over a little bit, we know it's hard to put substantial content into 60 seconds, but we invite you to do that. After that, we'll have a brief lightning round with some short responses, and then a closing statement. We ask the audience to be respectful of all of the candidates' answers tonight, and tonight is not a debate, so we ask that you address the audience rather than one another tonight. With that being said, let's open with our opening statements. Each candidate will introduce themselves and briefly share why they're running for the St. Joseph School Board. And Reed, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Reed Barnett. I've had several district jobs over the years. Was baseball coach, substitute teacher, para custodian. I work for the Summer Explorers program. I have 4 kids, ages 13, 4, 2, and 1. I'm a 2004 Benton graduate. I've been a small business owner now for around 6 years. I'm really running for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is I just want the board to function better, I feel like, and the community to see that and be able to talk to everyone and get along, and just public trust is big to me. I feel like that's something we're missing right now, and that's probably the main reason I'm running.
Thank you.
My name is Travis Smith. I'm a 2000 graduate of Lafayette High School, and 4 years later I graduated from Missouri Western University with a degree in manufacturing engineering. And I have my mom who's here. She worked in banking for about 35 years here in the city. My dad was a retail store manager for 30 years with Kmart here in St. Joseph. My brother owns Blue Knight Towing and Recovery, and I have a sister that is a school teacher, no longer in this district, but at Hosea, so he was at Hosea, and now she's at Osborne's elementary school, the elementary school in Osborne. I have 2 sons that are both being impacted by the consolidation with the schools. But the main reason that I've just chosen to run, years ago I ran for mayor of the city of St. Joe about 10 years ago. I love this community, and I love making a difference. I hope to bring a positive energy with me if elected to the board, great decision-making, and the ability to work as a team to make a difference for the teachers and the faculty and for the community especially.
Thank you, Travis. Deborah?
Do we need a pen?
Good evening. My name is Deb Schmuck. I am not a native of St. Joseph, but I got here as quickly as I could. I was born and raised in Western New York. After that, after high school, I joined the Navy. I was an air traffic controller. After the Navy, I moved to Colorado to get away from any water whatsoever. And I used my GI Bill to get a BA in secondary education and behavioral science. I then went on later to get a master's degree to be a school librarian. I worked for 25 years in middle and high school. The reason I want to run for the school board is since I've been here, I've been volunteering at Central High School for 2 years and received Volunteer of the Year last year and Volunteer of the Year this year from Lindbergh Elementary, and I see great potential here. We have great children, great teachers, great schools, and we have a lot of good things going on. And I really think that I can be helpful there.
My name is Cynthia Cook, and I've always gone by Cindy. I am a retired registered nurse. I graduated from Benton High School, and I have lived my entire life here in St. Joe. I'm married. I have 3 children who all graduated from Lafayette. We have 1 granddaughter, and our son-in-law graduated from Benton. I spent most of my career at Mosaic taking care of patients that were either getting ready to go into surgery or immediately after in the recovery room. So chances are I may have taken care of some of you at some point in time. I'm running because I feel like we need to continue to move forward with our district. We have to make sure that we are putting our students and our staff and our teachers first. We have to make sure that we work with everyone to make sure that we're keeping our classrooms in order, that there's not any disarray going on with our classrooms, and we need to address the discipline issues that are going on.
Thank you.
Hey there. My name's Cassandra Beal. I am a mom to 4 students in the district. I have a junior at Lafayette High School, a sophomore at Central, a 5th and 2nd grader here at Eugene Field. I'm also a proud product of this school district. I graduated from 2009. Listen to me. Can you tell it's been a long campaign trail? I graduated from Lafayette in 2009, and then later on went to Hilliard Technical, where I earned my LPN certificate in 2010. I then went on to Missouri Western, where I got my bachelor's in nursing, and then later on UMKC, where I obtained my master's degree with a specialization in psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I currently work as a psychiatric nurse practitioner here in our community, where I primarily treat children affected by trauma. So I see every day what those unmet needs in our students and kids can look like and how those affect the staff all around, place extra stress on our teachers and things like that. And honestly, I'm running for a seat on the Board of Education because I believe in the power of public education.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Dragoo. I've been following the school board really close since about 2017. I started attending meetings, and I feel that our district's not real transparent. I created 2 groups to get some information that I've learned from the school board meetings that most people don't really get to hear, and they're pretty boring, so it's hard to even watch them on there. I think our district and across the nation, we're failing. We're failing big time, but here especially, we're failing. We have the lowest dropout rate, or the highest dropout rate, sorry, and lowest academics in the state. We got to fix that, but we got to fix it on a different level. We can't just keep teaching the same way we've taught for 100 years. There are so many students that are so intelligent that we don't even test on their abilities. We base everything on tests that somebody made up to measure intelligence. We can't do that no more. We got to find what works with kids. We got to keep metal shop. We got to keep those things in our high schools, because you put them into the Hilliards, we have 17 schools that compete against that. This job market needs that, and those kids need that. It's like gym to some of them. So I want to change a lot that has to do, I think I can make the biggest change. I will stand up for what I believe in. I will not back down. Oh, is it time? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I thought it was.
I'm Jay McMillan. My family and I have been extremely invested in the district. My wife has taught 15 years in room number 2 at Pickett Elementary. We have 4 kids in the district, 1 at Central, 1 at Truman, and 2 at Pickett. I've served on PTA for 8 years. I'm currently the PTA president at Pickett Elementary, and I volunteer at 2 after-school clubs, 1 at Hosea and 1 at Pickett Elementary. I've served on Vision Forward, which prepared me for this running. I also currently serve on Academics Committee throughout this last school year. I'm running for the main objective of helping the district accomplish its mission of preparing students for a successful future and their vision of empowering learning every day. And the 2 things we got to get correct is the classroom. We need to have high-quality teachers. We need to have the best curriculum resources we can buy, and we got to keep student conduct under control. That's not just student and teacher, that's also student to student. We got to make sure bullying and mistreatment is also handled. And lastly, we're in a new financial reality. Our reserves are going to end this financial year at 10%. That's half of what we ideally want. We got to get our reserves up so we don't have to keep borrowing money to cover cash flow. Because when you got to take a loan for cash flow, you're losing the interest on that loan. So finances in the classroom and accomplish the mission and vision of the district.
Thank you. Jacob, we'll start with you since we're already down at that end. Some of you have already answered this question in your introduction, but what do you believe, if you could boil it down to the single most important issue facing the St. Joseph School District right now, and what specific action would you prioritize in your first year on the board?
Yeah, so I think about 3 or 4 years ago, many of us didn't realize this, but the St. Joe School District decided to write their own curriculum. We stopped purchasing curriculum from nationwide companies, and when we stopped buying curriculum, which is what helps, or buying resources, which helps our teachers in the classroom, our test scores started going down. In the last 3 years, we've started making corrections. We just purchased English language arts resources for the elementary schools. So my wife teaches first grade. For the last 2 years, when she went to teach English language arts, she had no resources. She had no textbook. She had nothing to use. It was on her to go on the internet and find stuff. And that's why our test scores in academics were struggling. So I think the number one thing is to get back to having resources for our teachers. It's a lot easier to retain and recruit teachers when you have good resources. That's something they appreciate. And also our students benefit. All of us in this room probably had a textbook when we grew up, and we got to get back to that again. I'm excited we are testing Amplify for science, and we got to keep purchasing curriculum resources to prepare our students for the future.
Thank you.
Okay. 100% academics and transparency. I'm going to play off a little bit of what he said. At one time here 2 years ago, we weren't even teaching phonics. We aren't teaching cursive. If our children aren't learning cursive, how do they read the Constitution later on? We were actually even in violation of state law when we weren't teaching phonics, and it happened to be a community member in one of the committees that discovered that we were not teaching phonics. I mean, they hurried up and fixed it. And Jacob's right, we're on the right track. We are on the right track, and grades are actually improving. So that's it, academics and transparency.
Thank you.
I would like to say that I think my main focus is to make student-centered decisions. We make decisions that are in the best interest of the students. They consequently trickle down into the best interest of multiple categories. It goes across academics, finances, recruiting and retaining staff, because we all know that our children's learning conditions are the working conditions of our educators. And so when we can get that right and kids have a positive environment to learn in, that helps with recruiting and retaining quality teaching staff. When we're making decisions that are student-centered, it improves academics. It improves across a broad spectrum of areas. So I think we really need to get back to making sure that all of the decisions that we're making, specifically in this consolidation process, are all student-centered decisions.
Thank you.
We have to have consistent discipline across the district. So if someone does something at one high school and someone else does it at the other high school, that everything is the same. the consequences can all be the same. Our teachers don't need to spend the first 15 minutes of their class trying to deal with disruption, because when a classroom is in disarray, learning stops. If you have good discipline, you will have good learning. The kids will want to show up for class. They will get to spend the entire class period learning. And that's what we have to remember, is that's the whole purpose for all of this, is we have to make sure that we are giving our students the best education that we possibly can. We have to do that. If we don't, we're failing them, and we're failing our community as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you. First, I think we need to kind of work on people's perceptions of our school district, which means we need to get more people in from the community into the schools, volunteering. We need more bodies. We always need more money. But that is such a we're in a turbulent time now. Do we have federal dollars? Do we have state dollars? So we're going to have to do things the community way. Secondly, the data, I went to the St. Joseph Reed's Literacy Summit today, and the data suggests that the pandemic had a huge impact across the country on student learning. And we are bouncing back from that. And the new phonics that we're doing for reading programs and so forth are really turning things around, but you can't do that stuff overnight. Lastly, we have 22% of our population that live below the poverty line. That is something to consider, and it's going to take other things rather than just curriculum and these things to turn that around as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to say transparency for sure, and trust as well. We've got to make sure that the transparency with the school administration, to the board, to the teachers, to the students, and all the way to the community is 100%. You got to have the best transparency to be able to make decisions, and not just decisions for today, but those decisions and how they're going to affect you tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and the year after that and on down the line. Now the trust, we've got to be able to make sure we've got the trust of the teachers, the students, and most importantly, the community. Because with the resources that Jacob had mentioned earlier, when you lack funds because taxpayers don't want to pass bonds and things like that, there's your teachers' resources. So we've got to work hard and show them that we're in this for them and to make the right decisions.
Thank you.
I'd just say the morale of the district's pretty low right now. I know with the consolidation going on, it's been tough for everybody. I don't think anybody is excited about the situation. I think it's from 40 or 50 years of just stalling on different things. We should have been building and consolidating all this time, but now it's to a point where we're here. I just think being unified as a community too, like Democrats, Republicans, I don't care, rich, poor, like we all live here. We all need to come together, talk about things, see each other's sides of things. You don't have to hate somebody because they're different than you. And I feel like there's a lot of that going on right now. And I just think we need to unify as one. Administration, teachers, students, everybody.
That's great. We're just going to start with you again and head back down this way. This question just came to mind as you were sharing. A school board is consisting of clearly a lot of different convictions, ideas, and people from different backgrounds. What do you believe the tone and the tenor of school board members should be towards one another, especially on issues they disagree with each other about?
I think we should be adults. I think we should know that we are doing this for the community and the kids and the district. So, we're going to have disagreements with each other, with staff, with administration, but you can't make it personal, because then I feel like that's where the rift starts happening, where this person proposed this, but I don't like him or her, so I'm not going to vote for it. I don't think that's right for the community or the kids, honestly. Then you start really voting for things for no reason, just because you might not like somebody. Or if you do like somebody, you might vote for them because you like them. So I just think that needs to stop. I think the community thinks that too. So I think the overall perception of our school board, the infighting sometimes is pretty negative, and I think we should need to change that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to try to build off what Reed said because I do agree. I mean, at the end of the day, our job is to make the best decisions to where it will provide the teachers with the tools, the resources they need to give the best education chances possible to the kids, to make their after high school dreams a more realistic option for them. So we have to work together, and we have to agree to disagree on some issues. You know how boring this world would be if we all agreed on everything all the way across the board. There's going to be differences, but as Reed said, we don't need to turn it petty, and because somebody voted this way and against the issue you felt that you're going to vote against them on something. That's totally not right, and the kids are the ones that end up paying the price in the end, and that's unfair to them. They, the teachers, and this community deserve better than that.
Thank you.
I think it'd be a good idea at our first meeting to create some norms around our behavior. Also, I think we need to make sure that everyone on the board is 100% behind public education. That's really important. Because if we're not all on that same page, then how are we there's gonna be conflict. There's also a thing called compromise, and instead of just a right and a wrong answer, there's a plethora of possibilities for any question or issue that comes up. So we have to be willing to talk to people, get more information if we need it, to make sure that we have all the information we need to make a good decision for the students and the school district.
One of the things that I think we need to get better at is listening. Somebody dropped me a note the other day and said, listen has the same letters as silent. So sometimes we need to just be quiet and listen. That way we can get the full impact, the data, the facts that someone else is trying to tell us. And then we can work together on getting the best outcome for our district. We have to remember that that's what we're all here for. We have to put our students and staff and teachers first. It doesn't matter what you're doing outside in the rest of your life, you have to do what's best for the kids in this community. Because if we don't, we're failing them. We have to listen, and we have to be willing to compromise. We're not always going to be right. We will sometimes have to take one for the team sometimes.
Thank you.
I would again like to say if we can keep the focus of our decisions on what's best for students as a whole, then we're able to get a lot of work done, I believe. I think it's important that we remember the work that we do as board members is not about us. It's not about our personal beliefs, our personal likes or wants. It's about what's best for the public education in our community and what's best for all students. I think compromise is something that we could use a little bit more of. I think listening is something we could use a little bit more of. I think, serving on the academics committee, we had a great example of a compromise and a productive discussion at our last academics committee meeting. There's a YouTube video if you guys want to check it out. But we were able to come together and make a decision that really still stuck to business with holding students accountable in regards to their EOC test scores, but also gives them some grace in a trying year. So I think we need a little bit more of that, but at the end of the day, it's not about any of us, it's about what's best for kids.
There's a few little kids in the audience. If they could cover their ears, I want to read something, but I actually don't want to read it in front of these kids.
Those are my kids. Cover your ears.
I mean, is it okay if I continue? Well, it isn't appropriate, but it is in our schools. And what I am about ready to say is, I can compromise with a lot, but there is some things I will not compromise. And some of the books we have in our libraries, I will not compromise because they shouldn't be there. Call me the queen book banner because this is one of the things I want to do is get rid of trash that's in there. We have public libraries. Go there and get your books, but not in our school system. Are you the narrator here, or should I go ahead and continue?
I'm going to ask a question on that later, but we'll keep the comments merely to your convictions on what you would fight for at this point because there are children in the room, and
Okay.
I'd appreciate that. But thank you.
Okay. Well, anyway, these books are really bad, and you do need to hear them. You need to hear the exact words. No one's heard them. No one gets to hear them. And that's why we haven't done anything about it. The community would 100% stand up against this. And it's one conviction I won't back down on. Actually, there's several I won't back down on. I can get along with anybody, and I'm fine. But if I'm convicted about something, I am staying with it 100%.
Thank you.
Going last is always difficult because a lot of answers get spoken before it gets to you, but I echo a lot of what's been said over here. We have to be respectful, we have to be kind, we have to be mission-oriented. You know, when we're working as a board, we need to understand that we're working for the success of our students above everything else. We also need to remember that if we can model what is taught to kindergartners in our school, then our board meetings will be a lot more professional. You know, we teach our kids to be respectful and kind from grade kindergarten up. And unfortunately, when they see the highest authority in the district, the board, acting in a way that's inappropriate, then your employees start acting that way, then your teachers start acting that way, then your parents start acting that way. You know, we need to set the example at the highest level, what it means to be respectful and kind, and not to judge motive, but to judge truth. You know, I think social media is the elephant in this room. Even in campaign time and even in board meetings, you're going on social media trying to judge motives and trying to read into someone's words and thoughts, when really we need to leave it at truth. And so if we'll get off social media and start treating each other with respect and kindness, I think we can accomplish a lot more.
Thank you. Bouncing off that question, there are a lot of areas that have been discussed here already in which common agreement can be found through compromise and respect and kindness, but there's sure to be issues where your convictions are very strong. How do you balance compromise versus conviction-based leadership?
Yeah, I think when you run for a public office, you need to understand that you're representing all the worldviews of the city. You're not just representing your worldview, you're representing everyone's. And that when you're on the Board of Education, you are there to serve every child, every student, but you're there to serve them to make sure they can learn to read, to do math, to understand history and science. That's what an education system exists for. That's what the Board of Education is there, is to provide high quality education and arithmetic and history and science. And that's what we got to prioritize. Now, are there going to be the 2 to 3 to 4% issues that come up where convictionally we're going to be different as a board? Absolutely. But your conviction isn't about how you would do it. Your conviction is what is best for minors and the entire community. What is best for children? And there are going to be issues we disagree on that about. It's not about my worldview in terms of a Christian or not a Christian. It's what is appropriate for a minor in our community to be exposed to by a government tax-funded agency.
Thank you.
Wow, I can't do any better than that. I'm not even going to try. Everything he said, I am 100% with.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure I'm answering it entirely.
Yeah.
Can you just repeat it one more time for me?
Yeah, what would, in short, the difference between areas where compromise can be found, but as an individual, areas where you balance that with convictional leadership, that you are so strong on an issue that you feel like this is an issue I have to stand my ground on. How do you find that balance?
Well, again, I think it's important to keep in mind that it is not about me personally. I'm able to take my emotions out of the decisions that I make. I have to do it every day in my life's work as a mental health nurse practitioner. And I think, again, when you're able to boil it down to what is best for students across the board, it makes that decision a lot easier. There are the occasional topics, like Jacob mentioned, that come up that, personally, my moral compass may guide me a different way than somebody else's. At the end of the day, I am one board member and one vote. I respect the governing process of a board, and I respect that should the outcome not be my desired outcome, that was the will of the board. I laid out my personal conviction, and I'll let it rest. I think that's kind of how you have to look at a governing body.
Thank you.
We all have things that are very, very important to us, but it does come down to what is best for our public education students. We have to make sure that any decisions that we make are in their best interests. There are some things that, convictions aside, if the law says one thing, you can't go against it. So you have to make sure that everything that you are doing is appropriate for our students, our staff, our teachers, and then make sure that we're not doing something that is against the law. So if it comes down to your convictions and law, sometimes you can say, okay, I'm going to abstain. I'm not going to vote on this at all because I just can't. And that would be something that you could probably go ahead and do. If you feel that strongly about something, then you do have that option to go ahead and abstain.
Thank you.
It's hard for me to imagine such a scenario unless it went against helping the schools, the public education system, and the students. So I have a gift of seeing both sides of an issue, and I can see both sides of an issue, and I can usually come up with, again, a plethora of possibilities of ways that we could compromise on things. So I certainly, it kind of goes to the last question too, I think, about how we shouldn't be, voicing things and being ugly about our convictions on social media and so forth. So I don't agree with any of that. I think it's got to be in-house that we're going to have to work through things.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody else has said. I mean, you have to compromise, and you have to compromise because the kids, their future depends on the way that you handle yourself and the decisions you make. You're responsible for all those kids. But at the same time, the issue that I will stand firm on and will never change my stance is I am the voice of the community, the faculty, the staff, and especially the kids. I may feel a certain way about something, but let me tell you what, if there's 80,000 people that disagree with me, we're going to vote with what the 80,000 people want, because that's what has to happen.
Thank you.
I would just say that, to be honest, our conviction really doesn't matter. We are one vote, so, I can be dead set on something, but at the end of the day, if the other 6 aren't, then it's not going to matter. I would just ask 3 questions. Is it good for the student? Is it good for the teacher? Is it good for the community? And that's all I need to do.
Right back here, Reed. I'm going to press a little bit. I've heard this on the city council forum as well as this, and we hear a lot this response. We want to do what's best. We want to do what's right. What is best for the kids? What is right? Well, everyone measures that based on a moral compass that they have. And I'd like to ask you, what, at the baseline, the foundation, what guides your moral compass?
That's pretty easy. It's just the golden rule. Treat everybody like you'd want to be treated. I don't care what religion you are, what sex or race or anything. In my day-to-day job, I talk to so many different people from so many different areas, and I try to respect everybody and listen to them, and just listen to what they have to say, And yeah, I just say treat everybody how you want to be treated.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'd say that continue to do what is the right thing. And that's my moral compass. I'm going to do what's right. And I'm not trying to correct what you say, Josh, but the word, I want to do better, if I'm elected, I'm going to do better. I am going to do it. There is no I want to, I will do it.
Thank you.
My moral compass comes from God, and there's nothing that's going to change me about that. But it's kind of, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you.
My parents have always been the type of people that have always instilled in my siblings and I to be kind, to not lie, to be helpful if someone needs something, to reach out to them. You know, it goes into the Bible, judge not. He that is without sin, cast the first stone. So no, you just have to be a good person and know that you are going to be able to work with everyone and be able to listen and just reach out when somebody needs that helping hand. That's probably one of the reasons why I became a nurse, because I was always able to reach out and help.
I am thankful that I was blessed with wonderful parents that brought me up in a good, loving home and instilled lots of morals and values in me that I still use today and have instilled in my own children. I was brought up in a home of faith. I have my own personal faith and beliefs that I follow to this day. I also have a code of ethics that I follow in my work, a nursing code of ethics that, teaches me and tells me every day, to do no harm, to be a person making decisions not of malice, and to just do what's best and what's just for people. I believe that every human being deserves a basic level of human decency and respect. And I think that when you can't extend that to other people, that says more about you than anything else. But again, I think that most of us know the difference in right and wrong. So,
Thank you.
oh, I don't have to share.
God, my husband, my children, my grandchildren, my community, the students in this community, and my country.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I operate from a Christian worldview informed by the Bible. And within that Christian worldview, we're told to love our neighbor. We're told that everyone created by God is made in the image of God and deserves to be respected, accepted, and served. I think that all of us in the state of Missouri need to evaluate the role of public education and the value it is for every child that was created by our Creator, and that Jesus never calls us to leave the world but to serve the world, and that public education is one of the key avenues that every Christian in this town provides for every child, whether they're poor, rich, or in between. And so my Christian worldview is going to call me to serve every child in this city and to make sure every child has a successful future. And I would love to see all politicians in the state of Missouri adopt that Christian worldview that says every child is made in the image of God and deserves to have good public education. My wife and I come from broken homes, and if it wasn't for public education, we would not be where we are today. So the Christian worldview says, go serve every child in your community.
Thank you, Jacob. This might be a yes or no question. I don't want to force you into that, but it might just be able to go quickly through here. Just on that same track, do you believe in moral absolutes? That is, do you believe there are things that are absolutely right or absolutely wrong all the time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Switching gears for a moment, let's talk about teachers and staff. What should the district do to recruit and retain strong teachers and staff, especially if resources are tight or morale is strained? Reed? Yeah.
That's a big one for me. I don't know if I have enough time, but I do think to retain a teacher here is tough. To get a teacher to come here is even tougher. I don't think they have the right tools sometimes to do their jobs. The morale of the district is low. If anybody's followed this, they know I'm actually pretty big on facilities, and I feel like our facilities have not kept up with the times over the years, and I would like to, at least move towards figuring that stuff out. It's really hard for businesses to recruit workers here. With the schools around us being so nice and having facilities, I can't really imagine why a teacher would want to come here over those places right now. But I do think that eventually we can work on that.
Thank you.
So again, I know you stated with the, sometimes a budget being tight, but of course we have to definitely 100% make sure we're doing everything for a competitive wage for the teachers. They have a very hard task every day, and they've given their time, and they need to be compensated. Second thing, the teachers need to understand they do have a voice. The fear of retaliation for speaking at board meetings and things like that needs to go out the window. You need to hear from them first. Their input is probably the most crucial after decisions are made amongst everybody. Third, I believe that they need to get the they need to get seen better by the community, their acknowledgement of things. We used to have, like Apple Market would have a teacher of the month and show that on TV, and everybody in the community could see that. We no longer have that, and I don't understand why. But the community needs to see what these teachers are doing in and outside their classrooms and making a difference.
Thank you.
Well, I was a teacher for 25 years, and a lot of it came right from my heart. That's why I was a teacher. I wasn't making millions of dollars, for sure. The perks, when you have a teacher, I got Teacher of the Year one year when I lived up in the mountains, and that just made me feel like what I was doing was good. The kids gave me a lot of accolades. They wrote my letters of recommendations for me. And I think you need to let teachers know that they are important, that we really care about them and what they're doing. And we need to back them up on things. And that comes a lot from the parents and the community, too. We got to do things like Travis said, Teacher of the Month, Teacher of the Week. Give them some perks and give them a reason to want to come here. The new curriculum that we have, that's going to be helpful. Professional development really helps teachers feel like that they're important. So those are just a couple of ideas.
One of the things that teachers don't want is to have large classes. We need to make sure that our classroom size is small, that we have a low student to teacher ratio. Our teachers also need to know that they are going to be financially compensated. I mean, we all know teachers don't make what they should make because they are the ones that are right in front of our students, and they are the ones that are teaching the leaders of our community going forward. So we have to make sure that we are compensating them, we keep our discipline in our classroom in check, because when you have discipline in your classroom, you no longer have all the chaos that's going on. You are able to teach from the very beginning. And that's what we need to help with, is make sure that administration is giving them the tools that they need with that.
I think outside of offering competitive pay and solid benefits, because I can tell you teachers are not in it for the money. My father and stepmother are both retired educators from this district, and I don't know that teachers will ever be paid enough for all the work that they do. I do think we need to ensure that they feel heard and valued. We need to show them respect and trust. I think that when we're making decisions that are going to impact their classrooms, we need to be hearing their input beforehand, not afterwards. I just think a big part of ensuring teachers feel valued and heard is considering them, and we need to be doing that a little bit more. We need to be partnering more with NEA and MSTA, which are our teacher organizations that provide stakeholder feedback for us, and can give it to us in a concise, simple form. We need to have more partnership with them, and we need to make sure that we're hearing them out.
We need to change the status quo. First of all, on raises. We can't ever do a percentage raise. When you do a 4% raise straight across the board, someone making $250,000, $60,000, what, they get an $8,000 raise? When the teacher making $45,000, well, they get a couple hundred? We can never do that. Percentages have to go. I don't think administration should have raises right along every single year with teachers. I think every 2 to 3 times it should change. This is a graph. This is administration, how we've grown, and this is students' decline. Why do we have more administration when the students declining? We also, right in the middle of what we got going on right now, like 100 and some teachers are losing their jobs. In the same time, we have a backdoor, it was a work session, but it was a closed meeting where they give our superintendent another year on her contract. You shouldn't do that right in the middle of laying off a whole bunch of people and changing everything. Where's your trust if you're doing something like that? So we got to change. We got to give higher pay to the teachers only, and we can do that if we leave off the 70% of our budget goes to administration. Let that sink in. 70% should not be going to administration. It should be going to academics and teachers.
I'm going to try to give an answer and an action step. So first, compensation. I would like the school board to sit down and look at benefits compared to salaries. Right now, we offer some of the best benefits in the state, but you can't pay your mortgage with benefits, and benefits don't show up whenever teachers are comparing other districts. So I think we need to reevaluate salary and benefits. That'll make us more competitive. Student conduct, I think an action step is we got to kind of continue to develop structured learning. Not the classroom is not the place for every student. Some students may need structured learning, other environments to learn. Curriculum resources, if I'm on the board, we will have 100% curriculum resources in every subject that is tested by the state. Classroom and school environments, we don't need space heaters in classrooms, okay? We need to fix our HVAC and our heaters. We need to provide the best environments we can. And then clear communication, a mission and vision. You know, our elementary school at Pickett has been on the chopping block for 8 years, which means every year your employees are wondering, is my school going to be here or is my school not going to be here? You know, if you run a business like that, your employees are going to go find stability somewhere else. So I think this board needs to correct, and we need to get a long-term plan of consistent mission and vision to where teachers know where we're going and they can buy in rather than bail out.
Thank you. As we turn our attention to facility needs and the path forward, last year voters rejected Proposition 2, and the district is still left with real facility needs and difficult decisions ahead. What should the district learn from the failure of that proposition, and what should the board's path forward be regarding facilities, planning, and public trust?
Yeah, it seems like the general public did not support it based on the communication of the board, the transparency, the details. The big one that I hear a lot of times is the location was never secured, the location was never shared, and it's really hard to get taxpayers to spend, in the hundreds of millions on something they don't know the details on. I do think consolidation is necessary. Our reserves are at 10%. If we ran the same budget next year that we're running this year, our reserves would be almost to zero. We're running a $10 million deficit this year, but it's covered by federal funds that came in late. So when you run a business, your two biggest expenses is what? Buildings and bodies. And so we have to consolidate. We have to be more efficient. I think the plan forward is right. You heard last Tuesday night at the board meeting, we're already expecting a $2 million savings from some of our staffing rearrangement. So I think we're on the right path. Look, our enrollment's down. We don't have the same amount of students today that we did 10 years ago. We're not filling our buildings, and we got to be wiser with what we have. And so I think stewardship-wise moving forward, we got to be efficient, and we got to get the most out of everything we have.
That plan failed, but the plan before that failed, with American Family, the plan with the mega school failed. Obviously, this community does not want to go in that direction, and they're forcing it on us. And how are we ever going to get behind the district if they're not listening to our needs and wants? Our 3 high schools are the best buildings we have in this town. They've had Cat 5 data, electrical, plumbing. They are sound. They don't need any work. But we have 5 grade schools that heat pumps don't work. So we shut down like 3 times last year. When you're building, you don't put on the roof before you fix the foundation. It's our youngest. It's our youth. We need to have a long-term plan. And if 15 years ago we had a long-term plan that the community could get behind and agree with, we'd already be building. But we're going to continue to fight this fight, which I'm 100% neighborhood schools. It's proven that they do better. My time's up. I could go on for 10 minutes on that one.
You're okay. I don't have to share. I'm going to say that as much as I can. No. I think, transparency is a hot button topic. We talk about it all the time. I think a big part of where we've messed up is that, I'm just going to say it, our district has continuously shot themselves in the foot. We tend to say we're going to do one thing, and then we turn around and do another, or we say, oh, this building is dilapidated, we can't use it for educating students, but then we move students out of it and close it as a school and turn it into an admin building. I've lived here my whole life, so I've seen it as a student, and now I'm seeing it again as a parent. I do agree consolidation is needed. What we're doing isn't working. We need to do something. I'm not a fan of how we're doing it. I think we should be making decisions that disrupt students in the classrooms and our teachers and staff dead last. We had a MSBA representative come, Ms. Linda Quinley, and do a financial review. She agreed we were very top-heavy at administration and suggested that we make cuts from there first. To my knowledge, we've only made one administrative cut, and that was a retirement with a salary of $90,000 that we are not filling. So I think we need to make better financial decisions and no more flip-flopping.
I think part of the reason that the last bond issue did not pass was they didn't tell us where it was. If I'm going to go buy a house, I put a contract on it, and I put in the contract, it's contingent on my house selling. Why didn't we do that? We could have put a contract on that piece of property contingent with the bond passing. Then everybody in town would have known exactly where the piece of property was. But instead, the community has had so much distrust with this district that they felt like it was going to be a bait and switch. We're going to say we're going to put it in the south part of town, but then we're going to come back and say, well, we couldn't get that piece of property. This district has to be truthful. And if we don't do that, this community will never support anything. And if you talk to most people now, they are not really supporting this 2 high school plan.
Well, I've only been here a couple of years, but I've certainly have heard plenty of information about the situation that you're speaking of. And it sounds to me that we cannot ask the people of St. Joseph for any money until we show good stewardship with our money and our resources. And population, and this is going to be cyclical. We will probably come back. We'll probably end up with 3 high schools in 15 years or something like that. But, that's going to take time. And probably the biggest thing we have to do is to rebuild the trust with the community.
So yeah, the biggest thing we do have to do is rebuild the trust with the community. Because, here's the whole thing going forward. And Jacob says that we're on pace to save, I do believe, what'd you say, $3 million or something. Well, here's the problem. An independent financial consultant spoke the night they shut Lafayette down. She said the direction we're moving, and she compared it to 4 other school districts. Then she mentioned one in particular, and she said they have an average household income of $135,000 a year to support that school district. Ours in St. Joseph, Missouri is $45,000. So we're trying to move in a direction that we can't financially fund. So when do you hit the brakes and say rewind and restart and try to figure out something else? Because that's also not good. Where are you going to get the money? You already have it. You're already in the negative when you start. And the community is so upset because we've had the red flags there of these problems with an independent demographer that listed out things to do to avoid a problem. All that did was told the current school administration what to do for the problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, this one's tough for me. I think from the people, I've talked to a lot of people, and I respect the voters and their decisions on the schools. But I also feel like it was not marketed well enough by the district, Prop 2. I do think that the school board should step back from that and let another committee do that and take care of that. Also, I've talked to a lot of people, and I think we're at a point now where I think it's starting to shift a little bit, where I do think more people are starting to understand that, we might need some new facilities. Like, my son goes to Lake Contrary. I went down there to the book fair with him, and, their cafeteria is an old gym. Their teacher's lounge is on a stage. Just those curtains on it, and they just have a makeshift thing going on in there. So I do think that that's important.
Thank you. Reed, transparency and trust have been major issues of discussion among the public and the school board. What does transparency practically look like to you? And what can be done to give the public a sense that the school board is trying to make decisions in a transparent way?
I know me and Cindy have mentioned this several times, but I think we should have a citywide meeting where people can come and talk to the district about anything they want. They don't have to be scared to say anything. I think that's a big deal. I think if we're gonna close schools or build schools, we need to let them know down to how many bathrooms are in it. I want everybody to know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. What reason we have for doing this stuff. Because I think that's, I can sit here and say, oh, we need new schools, but if you don't say, the reasoning behind it, oh, we need to, we're doing it because, we need to save money as far as consolidation goes. We need to recruit teachers. There's reasons for doing it. I don't think the district's just doing it to make everybody upset.
Yeah, there's a huge problem with the transparency, and then when you have a broken transparency line of communication, it continues to become more catastrophic as it goes down the ladder. It has to be 100% at all channels, but it's never going to be 100% either when you have teachers who feel that they are going to be retaliated on for talking in school board meetings. Your school board meetings, as kind of what Reed is saying, they're not all an open public forum. And I don't also understand why the public has to go up and speak before they have the school board meeting. They need to flip that around so that way when things are talked about with the school board and the administration, the public can comment then. But when you limit down opportunities to be able to speak, or you have fear of who can speak because of losing their jobs, that is not 100% transparency.
Thank you.
Because I do so much volunteering in the building and I started to run for this office, I started asking people in the buildings, what do you think we need? What do you think would be a good idea? And I think it would be really helpful to get that conversation going, because I know that the school board meetings, they're on YouTube. You can come and sit and listen to them. So I'm wondering how many people actually do that and know about what's happening. So maybe it's time for us to go out and talk to the people and find out what's on their mind.
One of the things that I'd like to see this district do and the board do is that when you've had a work session and topics are coming up, that you allow people to either email, text, questions that they might have, so that you guys address them, that they're addressed at the board meeting. Town halls. We have 4 television stations in this town, and they all run the same news program night after night after night. You see the same thing 4 or 5 times just in the same evening. Let's maybe work with them to maybe do some type of town hall that people can call into, and it be something that they can find a way to write it off as a public service to the community. That way the community feels like they're maybe being heard. Dr. McGinnis spoke at the PTA council the other night, and she took questions that people were sending in and from those of us that were in the audience. And that was one of the first times that I felt like maybe they're going to listen. Maybe they're going to listen, and that's one of the things that our board and administration needs to do, is they need to listen.
Again, I think the best thing we can do for transparency is to do what we say we are going to do when we say we are going to do it. But I also think another part of transparency is, let's be honest, we're all human. Everybody makes mistakes, myself included in that. I think, that's kind of a big part of being transparent too, is when you make a mistake or when you think something's going to work out and it doesn't, or it doesn't go the way that you thought it would, own it. I think we need to own those decisions that we make when we realize, hey, I really thought this was going to work out a different way. It's not going as planned. I think maybe we need to revisit this or revamp this idea. Transparency is not just saying everything out in the open, but it's also owning when the things that we say out in the open don't go the way that they're supposed to. I think another thing that we can do to ensure the public we are trying to be transparent is continue to put as much of our business as we can in open session versus pulling more and more things back to closed session. I think when we start moving more business back to closed session, that creates kind of a sense of distrust or a sense of us wanting to be less transparent. So I think the more we can do in open, we should, but the things that we have to keep in closed, obviously for confidentiality reasons, we also should do that.
Thank you.
Couple things. Our 2 newest schools, the Carden Park and Oak Grove, we spend more money on those 2 newest schools than any schools in town every year, and we have since the day they were built. They say we're going to save a couple million. Well, they're wanting to spend $500,000 to take Benton Metals out, which should stay in high schools, and create 2 rooms, and then take our library and cut it in half. So they're going to add 3 rooms to that. I was sat at a board meeting the other day when they were presenting something. I can't even remember what it was because it caught me so off guard. And then they talked about vaccine clinic at the schools. That's all they said, and they left it alone. But today, the newspaper elaborated because I asked, how's that going to work? Does a parent have to be present? Or do you send something home to sign? I don't like the medical world involved with our education. I think the parent should absolutely be there if your child is going to be vaccinated with anything, but that's not the case according to the news press. You just have to have a signed document. I think that's dangerous, and they could have been transparent. At that board meeting, they should have presented it and explained everything. I shouldn't have had to read it in the newspaper 2 days later.
Yeah, my answer to this question throughout the cycle has been that we got to work harder to work ahead. I think a lot of times our school board is always bumping right up against the deadline. And so when you're not ahead of schedule, it's hard to have town hall meetings. It's hard to let the committees talk about different issues that are coming up. So I think in leadership, you got to be 6-9 months ahead of the issue. You can't be making a decision that 2 weeks later you're voting on. There's no way to communicate that to the community. So we got to work harder to work ahead. I also think the board has to start asking some better questions during the board meetings. I think even if the board member knows the answer, it's to the benefit of the general public to ask those questions. I know they submit all their questions ahead of time, they get those answers, but that offers no value to us who are at the meeting. So it's kind of like when you write a sermon, you got to anticipate the questions the audience is going to have. I think as a board member, we got to anticipate what is the general public going to question and what question can I ask to inform them better. And I also think there needs to be accountability of the administration. I was pleased to hear the report Tuesday that they estimated the amount of students impacted accurately. They've moved less certified staff than they anticipated. Admin was higher than they anticipated, and salaries and savings is more than they anticipated. Those are good questions. You said this in October. Now, what does it look like today? Because that is their job, and the board has one employee. It's a superintendent, and we must hold her accountable.
Thank you. Jacob, on the question of ethics, parents, and the role of school, thousands of parents entrust their children's development to teachers, classrooms, curriculums every day. What do you believe the limit should be of what a public school should or should not do in shaping a child's moral ethics, beliefs, or identity?
Yeah, I think that the children belong to their parents, obviously, and you need parental consent when you're getting anywhere beyond arithmetic, history, learning to read, science, just the basic elementary aspects of education. So we don't need to be dipping our toe into moral issues or ethical issues. We need to let the parents raise their kids. That's why whenever the books came up, I was the biggest proponent of parental rights. I was the biggest proponent that we need to make sure that the parent is the one giving consent for the child to be exposed to that material because I felt like that material was beyond what they should be exposed to. But we can't control what parents expose their children to. That's just the reality in this room. Let's just all agree that parents can raise their kids the ways they want as long as they keep the gas on and the water on and the kid is physically safe. So in public education, we need to make sure that the parent is in control, the parent is informed, and the parent is consenting in what is being taught to their children.
He's hard to follow. Okay.
Easy to vote for.
We don't co-parent with the government. I think there's too much in schools. They need to be teaching reading and writing and math. And beyond that, that's a parent's job for anything else. I'm going to bring up something that few people told me not to bring it up, LifeWise Academy. Now, I was in Hawaii when this question was asked at the chamber, and everybody up here said it has no business in school. My opinion is a little bit different. If we can send our kids to Hilliard's to do a trade, we have lots of parents that would love to send their kids to St. Joe Christian, or how about give them the opportunity to send their kids how they would like to have their kids raised. It doesn't mean every child in school has to go to it, because they most certainly don't. It would be a parent consent, and it would probably help the public school keep more Christians in the school. So I'm answering a question from another place.
Thank you.
I am the only one that agrees with LifeWise should be in it.
Thank you.
I'm going to be honest. I reject this idea that teachers and educators are trying to push some woke agenda or their own personal beliefs and ideals on my children. As a student of this district myself, I never once had a teacher ever try and do that to me. My 4 children in 3 different schools have never once experienced that in the school district either. I know several educators. I'm the only person in my family that is not an educator, and I never have known any of the teachers in my family or any of my friends who have ever done that either. I think most of our teachers actually work really hard to shield their personal lives from their students. I know in high school we had a history teacher, Jeff Leake, and we would ask him all the time and try and get him to tell us who he was voting for, and he would never once do it because he never wanted to influence us to not be a free thinker, to not make our own decisions. So I wholeheartedly reject this idea that we have these secret, backdoor things happening in our schools, that people are trying to push their own specific beliefs and ideologies on our students, because I just really have never experienced it. And I feel that all the moments I've been involved in education or have been a part of something that has to do with education or educators, that has never once been an example I have witnessed.
So can I follow up? What do you believe the appropriate lane is for the school system in regards to what they should
I
teach
think
students?
the schools are here to educate our children. I mean, basic principles, reading, writing, math. I think that they stay in their own lane. I mean, our school district has done a really good job of giving parental consent. When the book banning happened, I think that was a big win for us. We went through, they had encouraged all of the board members to read each book, to have an educated opinion on the material that they were voting on. And what it boiled down to in the end is that we gave parents the option to completely restrict that material from their students, to say, I want all materials to be checked out, to be approved by me beforehand, or parents who said, I trust you, I trust your judgment, I trust that you're putting, okay material in the library. And I think that that's what it should be. I think parents should be given the option when it is something that may cross that line. And we do that a lot too. Suicide education, when they do the sex education in schools, you have to say, yes, my child can watch a video about that. There's not very many things I've experienced that I have not having to give my children explicit consent for when it crosses that line.
Thank you.
I have a daughter that is currently a high school teacher, and I know that she has been very diligent about never crossing a line with her students. She may talk to me, but she does not do that with her students. And of all of the teachers that my kids have been involved with, I don't think they have never crossed the line of what we as parents, what Bill and I as parents felt was inappropriate. I just think that our teachers are there to educate our students, and I think sometimes we kind of get down into the weeds and try to figure out, are they trying to do something else with our student? And they're not. They're not.
I think sometimes teachers are easy scapegoats for some of the information that's out there that might go against what a parent might want. But I, as a teacher for 25 years, and I taught social studies, which, that's kind of a hard one not to kind of give to, one side to. So I don't believe that teachers are trying to do anything bad to our students. We teach them how to share when they're in kindergarten. Is that a bad thing? We teach them to be kind and respectful of other people's feelings. Is that a bad thing? Character development happens, and there has to be things in the school, but like we spoke of, every parent has the right to say, no, I don't want them in that. If they have DARE, I don't want my kid doing that. So we do have a way to make sure that the student isn't getting information that the parent doesn't want. But I think that you have to remember that there's other places that information is coming from, a lot more than from teachers and schools.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of jump into basically what Cassandra had said as well, because I've never had any negative influence from any teacher of anything or tried to influence something on me. But I do know I'm thankful for those teachers that I had in high school and, in fact, even in college. But the teachers that I had in high school, and of course my mom and my dad, but they are who made me the person I am today. And I am grateful for that. I believe that their roles are to educate, but they're also there for those students whenever they need that person. not for a handout, but a hand up and some guidance maybe where they're confused. And I was thankful to have those teachers there to go and talk to. But I also think that their role also is to notice the kids that maybe do need some other assistance with maybe something that we have like to offer here in town, like again with the homeless and things of that nature.
I would say just keep politics and religion out of schools. Many different people have many different religions. I think what Jacob does with the Good News Club is awesome. I would encourage that after school hours. But the LifeWise thing, I think financially it doesn't really make sense, and I could be wrong on this number, but I believe that each student that is gone for an hour costs the district $47, and with our financial situation right now, I don't think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to, because of our time, I'm going to go take us into what I'll just call a lightning round. So if you guys can keep your answers to about 30 seconds or less, that would be wonderful. First question, should parents have full access to curriculum and instructional materials used with their children?
Absolutely. I think, your students at school for 7-8 hours a day, and they have homework, and I believe that would help the parents, with the homework type stuff, and they can look and see what their kid's doing and be involved in their education more.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Reed. The parents need to be able to be more involved and see what their kids are doing, and the more involvement, the better the outcome for the child, 100%.
Yes, I agree.
I'm going to keep it short too, yes.
Yes, and I think most educators would be thrilled to have parents that were seeking resource to help at home.
Yes.
I would say yes, and taxpayers. I mean, public education is supported by the taxpayers. I mean, if they need to know how every dollar is spent, they should probably also know, if they want to, every lesson that'll be taught. So I would just say all taxpayers, all stakeholders of public education should have access to the curriculum resources used by the district.
Second question, should there be decisions that students reveal to a counselor or to a school administrator that should be kept from the parents?
Yeah, this is a hard question, Josh, in 30 seconds. I mean, you're talking about a multitude, a big scope of decisions that can be met, and it's hard to answer that in 30 seconds. I trust our counselors of the district to know when to notify parents. Obviously, child safety, there's already mandated reporting with child safety, but to ask that question in 30 seconds, I feel like is a handicap to all of us up here, because that's a wide-ranging topics, and no matter what topic we pick, someone's going to read into our intentions tonight. So I would say trust our counselors, and parents need to be involved as much as they can in those decisions.
Thank you.
Again, we don't co-parent with the government. We need to know everything. So I disagree. If your child has went to the counselor with something that big and that important and that life-changing, you better contact the parent.
As a mental health professional, I think there are instances where we don't always disclose every single thing to the parents. I always say that with the caveat of it being a safety issue, though. One of those principles of ethics that I myself and most counselors follow in their code of ethics is to do no harm, and that is serious when it comes to children. But I also think we need to remember that not all children have safe parents, and so not always when children are coming to us with things are we able to disclose safely to their parents, because maybe their parents aren't their safe space. So I think we also need to keep that in mind, that not every situation and circumstance is the exact same.
Yeah, I would agree with Cassandra. There are times where, just in the interest of that student's safety, sometimes you can't go to that parent, because it may be that the issue that the child is dealing with is something that that parent has done to them, or a family member has done to them. So we have to be really careful in how we deal with this, because we don't want to break that student's trust, because sometimes they need someone other than a family member that they can actually come to and discuss some things with.
Educators are mandatory reporters. So if someone is hurting that child, they're being hurt in some way, then we have to report. But I would question, if a student tells me something, why didn't they talk to their parents? And why should I tell their parents if they chose not to tell their parents? And that's, again, like they said, the issues are a myriad of issues that you could come up with, and, it's going to be a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I agree with everybody too. It's, your issues are situational about what you can, when you need to. But like she said, you're a mandated reporter, so I don't know. That's a tough one. Just like Jacob said as well. You can look into and be scrutinized for something you say when that's not the person you really are and your beliefs. But at the end of the day, I can just tell you right now, I don't care if my kid's 18, 38, 48, or 58, and I'm still alive. I want to know what's going on. So somebody better call and tell me, because I'm his dad. That's my job. That's what the Lord left me here to do, was raise my kid and make sure he was okay.
Thank you.
I agree with Cindy. Obviously, if it's parental abuse, you're not going to tell their parents, I wouldn't think, or you may after you tell the police. But yeah, I would trust our counselors who have been educated and trained in all of those situations just to make the right decision.
Should major district proposals be publicly explained before the board is close to a vote?
Yes.
Yes. Major, and even the ones that aren't major, every district proposal should be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, just like the vaccine. That should have been explained at the board meeting to the public, and it was not. It was in the newspaper.
Yes, that's why we have to work hard to work ahead.
2 more questions. Should sexually explicit material or material dealing with sexual ethics be available in a K-12 school library?
Yeah, so this issue came up 2 years ago when I ran. I met with the academics committee. I had 4 books that I was concerned with because they were pornographic. The scenes in them were sexual. You had adults doing sexual acts that were not appropriate. But I understand that more requests were then submitted beyond those 4. I do think that if the material matches a rated R movie that you have to be a certain age to get into, you shouldn't be able to get that book in one of our publicly funded high schools here in St. Joe. So I do think sexually explicit material should be monitored, and we went through the policy, and the librarians in the district picked parental choice on some of them, and some of them they didn't, but policy was followed.
And we're not going to read the quotes.
I'm not going to read it. I'm just
Okay.
glancing at it. What's sad is I can't read it to you. I cannot read it to you. It's that bad, and he must know it not to let me read it. But we are offering it to our grade school, middle school, and high school. Why would we offer something that bad, but I can't read it here? That ought to scare most of you. It's that bad, and I so wish I could read it. And if you go to, I'll post it tonight so you can read it. Go to We the People, 3 schools information. I will repost this for you to read.
I think that there are unfortunate things that happen that are not always popular topics to discuss, like drug use, sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, things, sexual assault even. I know some of those books covered those topics as well. I don't think it was just pornographic books in our library. I think, again, this was a positive decision that our school board and district made, was to allow parental consent and parental restriction on books.
I've said in the past that our TV and music, if you look at an album, it will have a little E by it, a song title if it's explicit. Movie and TV have age ratings, so I would not have a problem with our library books having ratings based on what we currently use when we make a decision about whether our child can watch something on TV or go see it at the movies. So if it's sexually explicit, it does not need to be in our high school. These kids find that, though, without it being in our library. Let's face it, they do. Because we know that 14 and 13 and 15-year-olds sneak into into R-rated movies. So we just need to make sure that I would like to see it be like a rating system like TV and movie.
As a librarian, I look at some of the AP titles that they're, and that's a nationwide title list. And there's some very explicit books in that title list. But I also really appreciate that what they did, that if a parent wants to know every book that their child takes out, they can sign up for that. And I work in the Central High School Library, and 2 parents have signed up.
Yeah, I also agree with Cindy. There's got to be a line of what's considered not allowed in the school. But at the same time, like she said, they're gonna see this stuff, whether it's on TV, whether it's through music. I mean, unfortunately, TV is our biggest enemy. Look at how it's changed. I mean, for the Brady Bunch, I mean, the husband and wife slept in their own beds. I mean, you tell a kid that now today after what they see on television, they're going to be like, do what? No, so, but yeah, having the parental control in the school, that's a great start to helping with that problem. But somebody needs to say, hey, no, this doesn't belong here when it is at a level that it needs to be thrown out.
Thank you.
I personally think we're spending way too much time and energy on this. I think, what was it, like 4 of those books got checked out in 2 years or something. I don't know the stats on that. Somebody in the audience might. But I do think it's common sense. Like, parents should be able to just, if you want to check a certain book out, and there could be maybe like a disclaimer, this is what's in this book, take it to your parents, sign a permission slip, and check it out. But everybody has one of these, so, that's what I'd say.
Okay. Final question on this topic, and then for all of the ones we missed, you guys will have some time to give your closing statements. Do you believe that biological sex should remain the governing standard for athletics and locker rooms?
I do not think that in athletics, men should be able to compete in women's sports. Strictly from a biological standpoint, it's unfair to women, and I think it kind of infringes on their rights. What was the other part of that? Sorry.
In locker rooms and sports, yeah. Should the biological sex be the governing ethic?
I'm going to pass on the last part. I don't.
Yeah, that's a tough one, but I do agree with Reed as far as the sports goes. I don't agree that a man belongs in a sport against a woman. That I don't think that is fair at all. And as far as locker rooms and things of that nature, if this is a problem that we are having to face, then there needs to be accommodations made for the individual that's facing that. They need to have a place where they can go into to where they are not offended, nor the others that they are around.
Thank you.
I don't know that this has come up in the district, but I would think it would be a case-by-case basis. I don't think I have enough information or, what the initial case would be, so I would rather not say anything about that.
It just came out, I believe it was this morning, that the International Olympic Committee has made the decision that biological men cannot compete in the women's sports. So that is where I would stand. If you're a biological male, you compete against other biological males. We have a lot of facilities anymore that you go to and you see women's restrooms, men's restrooms, you see family restrooms. So I would agree with Travis that if there is an issue that we make accommodations for those students, we have to make sure that our students are not uncomfortable. If one person makes 20 people uncomfortable, then we have to make sure that the accommodation isn't that the 20 are put out. We just make an accommodation for the one person.
Thank you.
So this is a complex and extremely sensitive topic. It's actually not a topic or a governing decision that a school board would make here in St. Joseph. So I don't know that it's applicable to me as a school board member to make a decision on that. I think that schools should be a place, though, that all individuals should feel safe, should feel included, should feel seen, and should feel heard. And I think that, again, this is a decision that I would not make as a school board member, so I don't see how it applies.
And where would that decision be made?
So, I mean, it would be like MSHA, our governing body for athletics. MSHA would make that decision. We would have state policy. There's other governing bodies of the school that makes those decisions. It's not a school board specific decision.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely not. Men and women should not play in the same sports. It is not fair. We should not share a bathroom. All men don't flip up the seat. Just read in the paper how the airport had, someone recording 30-some times. No, they don't mix whatsoever. We should not. And I'm going to go even further to say, women should also not do a man's job. I don't like that either, because my house is burning down. I want a man going in to save my kids. I don't want a woman who wanted equal whatever and they lowered the bar to get her to do it. I mean, we are both built different, and we've got to understand that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think biological gender should determine athletics, locker rooms, and bathrooms. But at the same time, I agree with Cindy and with Travis that all students need to be respected and accommodations can be made. I don't think it needs to be a disrespectful thing, but I do think biological gender in the broad sense needs to determine athletics, locker rooms, and bathrooms. And while it may not be a local school board issue, neither is setting the state budget, but we still make resolutions to encourage the state one way or the other. So I do think a local school board should be educated on this issue so that we can speak to our state representatives that may be writing the law. So while we may not have the vote, we do want to speak into the larger area of education if we're on the Board of Education of St. Joe.
Great. If you would all just take a moment to put your closing thoughts together, and Jacob, we'll start with you. 1 minute on your closing statement and why the people of St. Joe should trust you for this next season in the school district.
Yeah, I love public education. I think it's all of our responsibilities to make sure every child in this community has a chance to be educated and a chance to succeed and is accepted, respected, and trained to have a successful future. You know, my dad passed away when I was a child. I have a wonderful single mom. She raised 3 kids, did a great job. But public education came alongside her and prepared us for our futures. And I'm forever grateful to Independent School District. My wife grew up in a home where alcoholism was present. Her mother was homeless for over 2 decades. And Raytown Public Education came alongside her family and helped prepare her for a successful future. So when it comes to public education, we are products of it. We believe in it, and we will serve it until the day Lord Jesus calls us home. Public education is the great equalizer. We don't pick the family we're born into. And so public education is a chance for every kid to get a foundation that can help them succeed in the future. And I think we need to make sure that we protect public education, we strengthen it, and we support it. And that's why you should vote for me.
Thank you.
I want to start with the board's job is to oversee the district, their finances, their budget. We don't have the right to oversee the employees, which a lot of people get that kind of confused. We are there to oversee the district, that's all. Unless an employee problem comes in front of the district, that's fine. This book right here is our policies. We get policies wrong almost at every meeting. And why does the district not hand you this? I sometimes think they set you up to fail because you can't get on your phone and look up a policy because you got state and federal law, and sometimes you have to go back and forth, and it's hard to get back to where you are. I've already been overseeing the district. I filed 3 different complaints on the district, and they've been found guilty. One with the Secretary of State, one with the Attorney General, and one with the MEC, where they found that they did illegal stuff. So I have already been doing that. So I'm not even able to see what everybody else can see. And like he said earlier, the board gets out and they don't explain anything. They pass stuff, but no one knows. And if you're not behind the scenes and don't actually get to read that, you're not passing it on to the public. It's not transparent. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
I'd just like to start off by saying thank you. Thank you, Pastor Josh and Hope, for moderating this forum, for giving us a platform to speak on important issues to people potentially in your congregation and across the community. Thank you to those in production in the back, putting all this on for us. I think I really see this as another way for me to serve my community. I'm a big advocate for children, a big advocate for public education. I think we have a great community. I would like to further serve the community that gave so much to me. If you're looking for leadership that is looking to place more accountability and stability on our school board and to help with making thoughtful, student-centered decisions, then I ask for your vote on April 7th.
I want to make this the district of choice. I want it so that our parents are choosing to stay and raise their children in the St. Joseph Public School system. We have an obligation as a community to every child in this community. We have to make sure that we are doing the best things for all of them, not just our kids that are planning to go to college. We have students that go directly to the workforce. They go directly into trade schools. They go into the military. We have to make sure that we are giving them what they need to be successful. Because when our students are successful, so is our town. Our employers are able to hire our students and not have any question about whether or not that student will be able to perform in the job that they are being hired for.
I have extensive experience in mediation, and I think that will lend itself to, I think we need to mend our relationship, the school board's relationship, the school district's relationship, and the community. And I think I can be very helpful in that. I come without a lot of, because I'm pretty new here too, I have a different perspective. I taught in the inner city of Denver, so I know teaching in areas of poverty. I also taught in the mountains where it was very affluent. So I have lots of ideas about how we can, education is changing. It's not the same education we had 250 years ago, and I have been at the forefront of a lot of those changes. So I would like to be able to be a part of the change.
So I'd love to serve on the board and use the skills that I've been blessed with, although some people may not think I've been blessed with them, but my ability to communicate is by far awesome. Sometimes I don't know when to shut up, but I mean, I can keep going. But, the ability to be able to interact with everyone of all ages and make people come together and feel important, I do have that ability. And most important, I just love to serve the community and make a difference. It's not that I want to make a difference, Josh. I'm going to make a difference on this board if elected. I'm not one that just sings about it. I don't sing it, I bring it.
Thank you.
People get mad at me when I say this, but going through this process, I know there's a lot of people on the stage that they care about the kids, and that's the most important thing. That whoever you vote for, just know that everyone has the kids' interest at heart. I'd like you to vote for me, obviously. I think I will bring a lot of unity to the district, the community. I just want what's best for everyone. I won't vote on party lines or because I dislike somebody or like somebody. At the end of the day, it's all about the kids, and that's really all that matters. If the kids are getting a good education, then I'm doing my job. The teachers are happy, then I'm doing my job.
Awesome. Well, folks, can we give our candidates a hand for being here tonight? Thank you for your time. And
Hello. Also, I have to put it in there because the board's all the panel's gonna be upset with me, but everybody needs to know I am blind, so I'm a great listener because I am all ears.
Thank you. Thank you. As a pastor that we're gathered in church tonight, the Bible that I teach commands us to pray for all those who are in authority, that God will give them favor, blessing, and wisdom. And so if you are so inclined, I'm going to close us in a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for your love for this world. We thank you for the gift of Jesus. We thank you for the gift of family and the great treasures of our community, our children, who will take this nation into its next season. We pray for our school district, our teachers, our administrators,